I go by Madam Mercy, also Mercy Roulette. They're sort of my stage names, I guess you would say. And they're also the names that I use in the cosplay community. I live about 20 minutes outside of Boston in Stoneham, Massachusetts, and I've lived here all my life. When I was a kid, my mom used to make us Halloween costumes all the time. And after I sort of grew out of that, I started to teach myself how to do costuming, and it started with movie costumes, and I started wearing them to more of like sci-fi fantasy conventions. And then after that I sort of branched out and started doing more cosplay oriented, like comic books and anime and video games and things like that. I have been cosplaying for probably about 9 years.
Okay, and how many costumes have you made?
Just over 100. Cosplay is definitely more of getting really involved with the culture and getting really involved with the character that you're costuming, and you really sort of adopt that character's attitudes and personality traits when you're walking around a convention. People do get cosplay and costuming sort of crossed, but they do have sort of these slight differences. I absolutely adore my steampunk costume. I slaved over it, and it was all based on this peacock design incorporated with Victorian fashion, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I've been interested in steampunk for a really long time, and that sort of spawned off of my love of the Victorian fashion. So when I discovered steampunk, it's a little bit of the Victorian fashion, but it's got that little sci-fi twist, which is really awesome. The concept for the character is that she's a clockwork cyborg, so that's why she's got like all of these clockwork bits going on in her corset. The design was based off of a peacock, so like the color scheme is all of these beautiful blues, and it's got a little bit of purple and a little bit of copper. And then I have just like this cascade of pleats off of the back, which was originally in my sketch design, and I wanted sort of that silhouette that's very like thin at the top, and then it suddenly at the bottom it just rushes out. It's really just a very strong image when you put it on and you actually wear it around a convention. And the corset, I actually used a picture frame for the front of it, and it lights up. The cosplay community is a great community to get involved with. If you've never cosplayed, or if you have been cosplaying but aren't really involved with some of the people who you see at conventions, it's never too late to start, because some of my bestest friends I've met through cosplay, and I wouldn't trade any of that experience for the world. I also love my Miss Marvel costume. She's a character that I wanted to do probably for about 5 years, and then I finally decided to tackle it over the past year. And she's not like a very hard costume to assemble, but she's all about the poise and acting very heroic when she's walking around a convention, which is really fun. Miss Marvel is just one of those characters that sort of commands attention. She's a very strong and empowered woman, and I really found that resonated with me. Her costume design didn't really, it wasn't really something that attracted me to her from the start, because it's very simple. It's a very simple design. But really over time, as I got to know her character, I realized that the streamlined design and the very basic pattern really reflected who she was, because she just doesn't take crap from anyone. The gloves were really hard. Making gloves is just really difficult. You have to hand sew them when you're making them from scratch, and it's such a pain. The easiest thing, which came as a surprise to me, was actually working with the fabric. The fabric for that costume is 4-way stretch PVC, and I thought for sure I was going to be running into all kinds of problems with it, but it sews like a dream, and when you're piecing it together, you barely have to put any pins in it because it just sticks to itself. My positive experiences at conventions usually involve just hanging out with my friends. I mean, it's just a really good way to network and meet new people and have a really good time. And an experience I can think of in particular that I really loved was when I was dressed as Supergirl, and there was a little girl, and she was just absolutely ecstatic to meet Supergirl, and it was just the cutest thing ever. So you do run into that, and that always warms your heart. Negative experiences, I have had problems with guys. You know, some of these costumes are a little bit on the sexy side, and some guys think that that's an excuse to act disrespectful towards you. And I have had a couple of issues that have involved things like that. But luckily I usually go to conventions with my boyfriend nowadays, so I don't really have that problem so much.
It's awesome. It's fresh, refreshing, looks good on her. I like it.
Think it's a good representation of Catwoman?
Oh yeah. Ask Batman, he'll tell you.
What do you think of her costume?
Amazing.
Are there any tips you'd like to give newbies that are interested in cosplaying?
Sure. A lot of research can go a long way. Whether you're going to be making it from scratch or purchasing pieces, details are great to keep in mind when you're working on it. They can really make or break a costume. And just don't be afraid to take risks either, because I mean, if you put yourself in a box and just don't let yourself be creative, you're defeating the purpose.
One more question.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question would be why? Why would you choose to spend your free time making costumes and going to conventions? I'm sure some people would say, oh, you could be reading a book or doing something else, you know, and they say, why would you do this?
It's a good question. I don't feel like it's a waste of time at all, I guess, because I just have so much fun wearing costumes and going to conventions. And like, yeah, it's great to have your picture taken. That's always fun. It's great when you do an obscure character and someone recognizes you. That's always fantastic. But really, my favorite part of it is not even necessarily doing like cohesive groups and getting pictures together, but just walking around a convention, meeting new people, hanging out with people that I'm really good friends with, and you know, it's very much a social thing where I get to hang out with my friends, but I get to do it in costume.